Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. Today is Thursday, 12/12/24, December 12th, 2024. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. Our 501c3 nonprofit received a number of grants built around a dual mandate. The first of which is to improve financial literacy and increase access to capital, and that's specifically talking about in the small business marketplace. And the second mandate is to work with community leaders like yourselves to accomplish more of number one. As we look forward to 2025, which is just a couple weeks away, a big change for us is how we plan on reaching out to the community. In fact, we're in the process of opening local brick and mortar stores across the country, and that's what we'll be talking about today. We invite you to own a Shelf Corp store. Now, we've had some other conversations about this. We've gone through this flyer. I don't know if you've had a chance to join those other topics or not, but you can always go back and let's get rid of this. I hate when it does that. You can always go back and see prior trainings on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com, of course, and then Business Paralegal. Today, what we're going to do is respond to some of the questions and inquiries and maybe even concerns some of you have had about, okay, I want to own a local store. I know that it doesn't cost anything. I know the timeline, but what we've been asked is to go through and talk about some best practices. So I don't know if you're a note taker like myself, but this is a great time to have your pencil and notepad out because we're going to go through some of the best practices of owning a Shelf Corp store. I'll tell you that a lot of how we've built this is built off of the SBA model. So I think, the three of us that started this all used to work for SBDC, Small Business Development Centers, which are funded by the SBA. So a lot of what we're doing with the build out of this distribution model, it's proven, it's been around for decades, but frankly, it's been in the government space. Now we're taking it out to the private marketplace. So let's go ahead and get started. At any time, if something's not clear or you want me to go deeper, let me know. The first topic I think is immensely important. You do not need to be a salesperson to be financially successful helping other people. If we focus on financial literacy, clients will be educated, they'll trust you, and they'll be motivated to work with you. Our Shelf Core model, which is summarized here, but we have other resources, including the comparison sheet we've talked about in other trainings. It's immensely valuable. It provides a business in a box. It's the fastest, it's the easiest, it's the cheapest way for an entrepreneur to have a fundable business to get funding. So what we need to do is not focus on selling anything to anyone. If we'll just simply educate, the clients will come. So let me go into some more detail on that. So if you decide to set up a Shelf Corp store, we recommend that you have workshops in your store. Because what you want is to be, and I know some of these are overlapping, be visible in your community, but by having a brick and mortar store, you're accessible to people. And I know, we live in a world of online learning and internet and YouTube and all these other resources, but I don't think that you can beat the human interaction of having financial literacy workshops. And we have the presentation for you, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. So you don't have to develop anything, but have these workshops on a regular basis. So people are coming to your store, they're meeting you, maybe you feed them, maybe you just give them some drinks and snacks, but build relationships with people. That's what's going to differentiate you from just another online resource. So let's again dig into how we did this at the SBA and how we're asking you to consider doing it now through your Shelf Corp store. So when I was hired by the SBA at the SBDC, The SBDC that I worked with is one of the top performing ones in the country, but they focused on one-on-one consultations in their office, which of course you can do through this model. They really weren't actively involved going out into the community and educating. And so I put together the presentation, which is a very similar one to the one that I'd recommend that you and I use through the Shelf Corp stores. And it's called the 27 mistakes. 27 mistakes that keeps your business from getting funded. So what we do is we spend about an hour educating people face to face and help them understand, well, what is it that could keep you from getting funded? And then from the conclusion of that, we can say, well, guess what? We can help you with the Shelf Corp that has everything that we just talked about, so it's immediately ready to go to funding. So what I would recommend is if you're going to have a Shelf Corp store, consider having space in your building to do workshops. Now, it could be informal, it could just be some chairs, it could be table and chairs where it's more lecture style. It's up to you. Could be suitable for 4 or 6 people or 40 to 60 people. The size doesn't matter as much. You'll register people so you won't be above capacity. But I can tell you how I went out and gave these workshops, and it's magical because you have motivated people in the audience. They're there, they want to learn how to get funding. So you're teaching them, you're not selling them. And afterwards, you'll feel like a movie star because they'll come up and they'll crowd around you. They're so excited because you're providing a solution to their problem. And that's what entrepreneurs do, right? We solve other people's problems and we make a shitload of money by doing that. So we'll help you with the content and the logistics. If you need, we'll come out and help you teach the first couple. But this is a great way. And on average, I would anticipate that you would enroll 8 or 9 out of 10 people that attend. Now, the financial literacy is even more important than everything that I just said, because what you're going to want to do is when you have your store set up, and if you don't have your store and you need help with that, call Madison. But once you have your store set up and we're doing these workshops, we're going to invite key influencers. We're going to invite every CPA in your area, every banker in your area, every chamber executive. You want the bigwigs, the key influencers to come to your physical store. And again, I know this ties into being visible in your community, and you educate them, because then they'll remember it. They sat in your seat, they ate your cookies, they drank your Diet Coke, they heard your message, and now they will be comfortable referring people to you. Not referring people to you to come buy a Shelf Corp, because they typically won't refer to you to do that. But they will refer to you to come attend your very valuable financial literacy session, from which most 8 out of 10 will buy a Shelf Corp from you. So we need to lead with financial literacy. Who has questions, comments, concerns on that first best practice? So Franz is asking, so yes, we've got the content. You don't have to create the PowerPoint. It's ready to go. Greg, yes, we'll come out, and if you need, we'll teach the first 1 or 2 with you to get you comfortable. So I think we're going to run out of excuses here. This is a proven model. It's worked with the SBA for decades. Now we're positioning you to own a Shelf Corp store. But I don't want you to think of yourself as a sales professional. Instead, focus on community outreach, focus on financial literacy, get the butts in the seats. All right, well, Lincoln asks, can you live stream it? That's a good point. Sure, you could live stream it as well as present it in person. So people could have the option to watch remotely. And if they want to attend in person, they can. But I tell you what, the in-person attendance, you're going to have about 8 or 9 out of 10 attendees enroll. If you're counting on the online enrollments, it'll be much lower, because you just don't develop the same sense of relationship and trust. When they walk into your store, your Shelf Corp store, you've accomplished so much. All right. And then, of course, there's the work hub aspect, which isn't the focus today, where you can actually provide workspaces and resources to help these small businesses get started, but that's above and beyond. Any other questions on the financial literacy? Yeah, and as Mr. Talbert says, you want to create trust, you want to create a relationship. It's about being personable. Lots of online resources in our society. Some are good, some are not so good. But this is the way to create a massive funnel. And this is, in my opinion, the best way to generate referral partners, because will they refer to you if they don't know you and trust you? No. So what's the best way for them to know you and trust you? Is you invite them to one of the workshops. Near's asking how to set up your store. Get with Madison right here. Do you see Madison's number? 903-352-3390. She'll help you. So I can tell you without exaggeration, I had presidents of banks come sit in on the workshops that I taught. So what happens when you get the leaders of financial institutions so interested in what you're doing that they take time away from their family or from their work to come sit and listen and learn from you, you know you're onto something. So crazy important right there. And I hate to say this because you can run the store the way you want. But if you're not committed to education, now you don't have to do the teaching. So let's go back to when I worked at the SBA. My boss was Don Proudfoot at the Tyler SBDC. You can call him if you want to call him. He'd been there 27 years and I was there probably over 30 years now. But the point is, he didn't like going and teaching in front of groups too much. I mean, he was good at it. He's a smart guy, but he left that to me. So what's my point? So if you don't really feel comfortable getting in front of a room teaching, that's okay. We can fill that in with someone on your team. We can have someone come do the teaching. I'm not saying that you have to be in front of the room teaching. I am suggesting that your store, to be successful, does need to focus on financial literacy. And if you do that in person, that will help you create visibility in your community. Now, there's more to being visible in your community. So let's transition to the second best practice. Let's think about a checklist of if you opened a store, what are some of the things that you should do to be visible in your community? Well, I would join one or more chambers of commerce. And furthermore, I wouldn't just join the chamber, I would be involved in committees, I'd sit on the board, be really involved, be really, really visible, be a leader. Maybe that's what I should have typed here. Don't just be visible, be a leader in your community. So that is huge. That is huge. So in addition to the chamber, there's often rotaries, there's often networking groups. What you want to do is evaluate your marketplace and figure out where are your prospects, your targets gathering, and where are the key influencers gathering, and see if you can be part of that. Make sense? Any questions on being visible in your community? It's so much easier to be visible in your community when you run a physical store. It just adds legitimacy. You have a flag in the sand. Say, we good there? All right. Next, we do need to have a brick and mortar office if you're going to run a Shelf Corp store, because that's the concept. Now, if you want to be involved and you don't want to own a store, you can be an affiliate, right? So you can be an affiliate, and I'll put that on here. Let's space this. I feel like this kind of gets convoluted, but if you want to be an affiliate, you can do so on 509pacific.org. So being an affiliate is free. You get a landing page, you refer in, you get paid. You're not doing all of this, but you can still be involved, and it's obviously a more passive approach versus a very active approach. But I do want to encourage those of you. Now, eventually we'll be putting the affiliates under the Shelf Corp stores, but we're still in the process of building out the stores. All right. Oh, so my point here was we're going to need a brick and mortar space. That's a fact. You're welcome to go lease a space, But I would encourage you to consider buying an office or an office building because you're going to be paying someone's mortgage, right? That's always the joke. You're paying someone's mortgage. Are you paying your office mortgage or your landlord's office mortgage? So we're still in the process of buying our second building. We bought a building several years ago and people have been critical because it's not fancy enough for them. They want us to have a fancier office, which, all right, I'm not sure how that makes a difference, but here we are. So we're buying a fancier office, and this office has tenants already, which is great. So those tenants pay in, and then we use other space. We'll help you if you want to buy an office. We'll help you facilitate the financing for that. If you're wanting to lease, just obviously get a realtor and get your own lease. I know Claude, who's on the line here. Claude is in the process of leasing. He was able to negotiate 3 months, first 3 months free on his Shelf Corp space, and then he pays thereafter. All right, any questions on the brick and mortar aspect of having a physical office, a Shelf Corp store? That's pretty simple. And sure, you could start by leasing and buy later, but if you don't have an office already, we're going to need to get a brick and mortar space. So the decision is, well, do I want to lease or do I want to buy? I'd recommend buying, but you don't have to. It provides more of a permanency, right? Because otherwise your landlord could up your rent or kick you out or what have you. All right, next one. Moving from the office to your transportation. You don't have to, but I strongly recommend getting a company car. Well, why would you do that? Well, you're probably going to need transportation, right? How are you going to be visible in the community? How are you going to go to these different events and activities if you don't have transportation? And you might as well put the transportation in the company's name, so that way it's tax deductible. We talked earlier this week about the Section 179 deduction, and I'll add that here. Section 179 of the tax code allows you to do accelerated depreciation on qualified business automobile purchases. So I told you the story, and I'll say it again, and I'm not bragging, I'm just giving you facts. So December 3rd of last year, we went and bought a new G-Wagon, Mercedes G63, awesome vehicle. Bought it from Mercedes of Plano, Texas, just for details. So we financed that, of course, in the company name. Well, guess what happens now? As we're preparing the taxes, or I'm sorry, as we prepared, past tense, the taxes for 2023, we were able to deduct that full almost $200,000 from the taxes up front. So again, you can work with your accountant on this. You could get the car wrapped or not. That's what Zahn, I think, is asking about. So you could certainly have your car wrapped or not. We actually ended up buying 3 company cars because of the tax deductions. We didn't wrap any of ours, but you certainly could if you want. Okay, James has got questions about Shelf Corp stores. So James, if you'll go back, we had some prior trainings, and you can go to on YouTube, and you can see where we've trained on Shelf Corps. I don't want to go back and spend all 30 minutes going back, but James, your question's important. So you can go back and watch the prior trainings on YouTube, and then of course you can call Madison. Okay, so let's move forward here to the next. This is a big one, and this is what Claude and I were talking about yesterday. So once you have a Shelf Corp store, everything changes, including how the money works. What do I mean by that? So let's take Zahn here. So let's say Zahn's going to buy and open a Shelf Corp store. And I shouldn't say buy because we don't charge for the Shelf Corp store, but Zahn's going to open a Shelf Corp store. So what's he going to do? He's going to focus on financial literacy and helping clients qualify for funding. And the way that we typically do that is to use direct to merchant financing. So what that means is that when clients come to you, you've educated them. Now they're ready to buy a Shelf Corp from you, which you pick the pricing. Normally, most of you are selling Shelf Corps for between $15,000 and $25,000. A couple of you are charging closer to $45,000, but that's up to you. You choose what you want to sell it for. Well, a lot of people don't have that much liquidity, so they need to finance it, right? Well, we'll get you set up with our direct to merchant financing partner. So what that means is the client with you will fill out an application, they'll get approved, and the money will come direct to you. So it's not, oh, they go get a loan, they get the money, and then you got to hope and pray that they pay you after they get the money. This is called direct to merchant financing. So this is possible for you once you have a store set up because you're meeting the criteria to be able to do this. That's great, right? Because normally it's a 2-day turnaround. So let's say Zahn tonight, today's Thursday. So let's say Zahn had a workshop tonight, financial literacy, teaching the 27 mistakes. Let's say he had 10 attendees. Statistically, we would expect 8 of those 10 to enroll. So let's say that Zahn's charging just 15,000 for the Shelf Corp. So 15,000 times 8 is what, 120,000, I believe. So literally, Zahn would be receiving in his bank account, what, Monday morning, because it goes by business days, 120,000. So this is important for generating your funnel. We need to close the clients, but as far as the financing, we have a great way to do that. And this is through very reputable lenders like US Bank and others. So we'll help you get that set up. But we need to have the store first because they have certain criteria. You can't just be a man or a woman working from your back bedroom and get set up with these major banks. All right, next, if you don't plan on doing this in a significant way, don't do it. Don't waste your time. And I say, don't waste our time, right? If you want to be a dabbler, that's fine. Down here is where dabblers go. Become an affiliate. You don't have to worry about all this. You refer in, you get paid. Refer in, get paid. Refer in, get paid. You don't do anything else in the middle. And that's important. That's valuable. That's credible. We need affiliates. But if you're going to run a store, let's not, forgive the language, dick around with this. This is a significant opportunity to help people improve financial literacy and increase access to capital. So many of you are entrepreneurs like myself, so we're anxious, we're passionate about solving problems and making money. This must be at least a 6-figure endeavor. And it's not magical, right? If you'll have the workshops, the money will never be a problem. Now, if you decide, no, I don't want to do it that way, I'm going to do it your way. I don't know how your way is going to work. But if you do this, we'll definitely hit this. If you don't do this, I don't know what's going to happen. Because I don't know, it's not a proven system then. Do it this way, it's a proven system. Now, some people say, well, 100,000 is not enough. Well, of course, the more volume we do, any business, the more volume you do, the more money you bring in. So this is not a cap. Notice the words, at least. So just don't even consider this if you're not looking to generate at least $1 million a year. And some people, oh, $1 million a year, that sounds too good to be true. Now, there's lots of businesses that make a lot of money. This should be one. So don't want to be too harsh. It's just if you're not thinking, and I wouldn't call this big, but and there's expenses, right? Jeanette's bringing up, yeah, there's expenses. So if you're going to buy an office, you're going to need to pay the mortgage payment out of your money. Of course. Or if you're going to lease an office, you're going to pay your mortgage payment out of that. If you're going to get a company car, you're going to go get your G63. What is my car payment? I think it's $3,786 a month, I think. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to go get a company car, you're going to pay for it, of course. So yeah, don't confuse gross income with net profit. You know, you still want to have profit, but you're going to have expenses, of course. Businesses have expenses. Okay. Any questions on this? It's just we need a filter. So we only want to work with individuals for stores that are really wanting to get engaged, that are really wanting to have a significant impact in their community. Because remember, we're only having one Shelf Corp store per county. Per county. Now, of course, some counties are larger than others, but if you look at Cook County or LA County or Fulton County, there's counties that have 1 million plus population. So it's a significant opportunity. But even if it's a small county, it still can work. All right. Second to the last best practice. And again, if you have any questions, comments, type them in. A little more complicated, but I do encourage you to consider. None of these are mandates. I'm not telling you what to do. This is not a franchise where you pay us some money and you have to do it our way. It's not that. I'm just giving you best practices. But I would encourage you to consider having both a nonprofit organization and separately a for-profit organization, two different entities. Because if you use those in conjunction with one another, it's very good. It's very good, right? It'll help you eliminate legally taxes. Nonprofits are going to get the best receptiveness in the community. Nonprofits are going to be able to get more people, more butts in the seats for your financial literacy. So that's the recommendation. Any questions on that? All right, and then this is growing so quickly, we've decided, and again, this is the SBA model, so don't give us credit. We want to go ahead and start getting a state director. So obviously, we'll have 50 state directors. No cost. No, I'm not selling anything. So to be a state director, you do need to own a Shelf Corp store, but it'll essentially be the facilitator of the state, helping us build out the Shelf Corp stores in the state, helping provide some oversight. And so, of course, there's great compensation for that. And again, that's the SBA model. The SBA model is there are local offices like I worked in. There is a state director of every state. Now, the SBA actually divided a few of the states, like Texas actually had two state directors, one for the north half of the state and one for the south half of the state. I don't think we're going to do that. So if you do decide to open a Shelf Corp store, then you can let us know if you'd be interested in running the state, which means you're going to help us build out, because we need coverage, right? We know that since we're focusing on face-to-face financial literacy, we need to be accessible. So we do want to have one store per county. So we could do a calculation of how many counties are in your state. That's how many stores that we would need to open. And then we'll pay you to help us develop those stores and to help oversee them. All right, so in summary, today's goal was to share with you some best practices of operating your Shelf Corp store. Some of you are coming in like James and you don't really have a lot of familiarity of what all that means. So we have these trainings on an almost daily basis, but I realize not all of you have been on prior training. So you can go get caught up on our YouTube channel. And I'd ask you to do that first. Then you can reach out to Madison. If this is too much, then maybe consider becoming an affiliate, and it's great for dabblers. Affiliates make a flat $1,000 per Shelf Corp that they refer in. They don't do any selling. They don't even do any teaching. All they do is create awareness, refer in, and get paid. All right, Joseph's asking about the trainings, which is a great point. And should we charge for the trainings? That is up to you, but I'll give you my experience, my opinion, and then you can decide. So there really are, and I'll break it out. There are two types of workshops. There are those that are, we'll call internal. So in other words, you're having it at your store. It's your event. So you write the rules. I wouldn't recommend charging. I would try to get as many butts in the seat as possible because that's your sales funnel. But normally you wouldn't charge for internal workshops, but it's up to you, Joseph. Now, the other type are external. And so what'll happen is you'll have organizations that will come to you, Joseph, and they'll say, hey, can you come teach that at my church? Or can you come teach that at my chamber? Or can you come teach that at my professional association? So external. If it's external, in other words, you're taking the show on the road, you need to follow their rules. And they may say, hey, Joseph, if we're not going to charge, we're not going to do this event. So because they use it as a revenue stream. So they might charge $10 a head or $20 a head. That's up to them. So I would say up to what we'll call the host if it's external. If it's internal, recommend not charging. Because what happens when you start charging for your internal? Now, when you're out networking with the bank loan officers, you've got to disclose that. Hey, loan officer, if you have any clients that can't get approved for business funding, send them over. We do workshops on the 27 mistakes. We have a grant we can help them. But you'd also have to add, oh, we're going to charge them to attend. I wouldn't do that. Can you imagine charging the president of the local bank branch to come listen to you speak? I don't think it's a good idea. So that's my answer to Joseph's question. But man, you all are the CEOs of your business. This is not a franchise model, so you get to decide. All right, so with that being said, hopefully this was helpful. We are fast forward in getting as many stores ready to open January 2nd as possible. The process is to first let us know if you're interested. We need to find out if your county is available or not. Then we need to, so we'll get you set up on our side if it's available. Then we need to find physical space. And so, yes, we can do a virtual soft launch, but we certainly need to plan to have a physical office as soon as possible for all the reasons we've talked about. We have live in-person trainings, which technically you don't have to come to, but we would recommend. It's where we go deeper into all of this. And then we open the business thereafter. So the goal, again, is to go improve financial literacy, increase access to capital. We'll give you a $100,000 startup allowance. And so that'll give you money for your payroll, for yourself and any staff, marketing. If you want a company car or to buy the office building, of course, it would be on top of that. But with that being said, our phone number, our website, I'm going to open, which I didn't mean to do, Madison's email, but I just recommend giving us a call if you need. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you back tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Have a good day. Bye.